gonna go ahead and get started. Hello, welcome to Good Work Network. My name is Stacy Williams, and I'm the Director of Partnerships and Program Development. We appreciate you spending time with us today. Good Work Network assists entrepreneurs with operating and growing their businesses. We're honored and proud to state that we've been doing this work for 19 years. Yes, 19 years. There are many entrepreneurs in the New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets that have benefited from our services. If you're interested in speaking with us about your needs, please contact us at goodworknetwork.org. Additionally, we have a COVID-19 resource page on our website that has a wealth of great information. Before I introduce our esteemed guests, I'd like to ask you to enter your questions in the Q&A feature. We will host a Q&A at the end of this presentation. As an entrepreneur, consultant, and nationally recognized author and speaker, Norman Roussel has been empowering businesses with the tools to succeed for over 15 years. Norman is the author of the best-selling book in America on building business credit, Principles of Building Business Credit, on Amazon.com, and the creative mind behind the award-winning construction business management training program, Contractors College, and the Resident Entrepreneurs Training Initiative, a program for public housing and Section 8 resident entrepreneurs. Norman earned a Bachelor of Business Administration and Finance from Howard University at Washington, D.C., a Master of Business Administration from Loyola University at New Orleans, and successfully completed the executive education program, implementing a system for high quality service through the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College. Please welcome Norman Roussel. Norman?
Hello, everyone. How are you doing this afternoon? Thank you for wanting to join and learn about building business credit. Stacy said I've got a few degrees, but in none of those classrooms did they ever teach me as a fledgling entrepreneur how to establish and build business credit. I had to learn on my own, wrote the book, and have preached learning about building business credit for the past 10 plus years. So I'm going to dive into the workshop because we've got a lot to cover real quickly. So our learning objective today is to teach startup entrepreneurs as well as seasoned business owners how to establish a business credit profile and build business credit in as little as 120 days. So if you start the process after today, within 4 months, if you follow our steps, you can have a business credit profile, a business credit score and profile. So these are the things we're going to talk about today. I'm going to introduce you to business credit, introduce you to the business credit bureaus, teach you how to set up your company for maximum business credit. Then we're going to teach you how to get a DUNS number. Then we're going to show you exactly where to apply for business credit in the first 120 days and beyond that point. Then we're going to talk about some strategies. One is the $100,000 business credit strategy for even startups or businesses without a decent business credit history. Then we're going to teach about the bank-to-bank method for building business credit. We're going to talk about the NAV website and app. Then we're going to give you some tips on building business credit, how to establish and maintain it over the long term. So workshop companion materials. Everyone who attends this workshop is going to get a copy of our book, Principles of Building Business Credit, in ebook form. You're also going to get a list of business-friendly creditor applications, sort of your starting point of where to apply for business credit. So introduction to business credit. Let's just dive right in. What is it, right? Well, business credit is credit extended by one business, the creditor, to another business, the borrower. When a creditor extends credit, the borrower can lease equipment, purchase inventory, goods, and services, and defer those payments over time. Business credit is the largest source of business financing in the U.S. and remains the #1 alternative to personal and small business loans. So when we talk about business credit, we're not talking about going to a bank and getting a business loan or personal loan or a line of credit. It's something different, and it is the largest source available to businesses in the US. Now, just like personal creditors, business creditors evaluate the credit worthiness of the applicant to determine whether or not to issue business credit. Now, if a company does not have a business credit profile and a track record of repaying business credit obligations, then a creditor will either require a personal guarantee or may reject the application outright. And real quickly, what's a personal guarantee? That's when an individual's legal promise to repay a business credit debt if the business is unable to pay later on. Now, if a company has a business credit profile and a track record of repaying business credit obligations, then the company is going to improve its chances of qualifying for a business credit account. Now, why do you need business credit? Well, it's simple. If you're like me, most businesses are financed at startup with what? A combination of personal savings, the money in your pocket, investment from friends and family, loans, and personal credit cards. That's what most of us do because we get excited about an idea and we just dive right in. And while this financing mix is common, it's neither optimal nor is it usually enough to support long-term growth of the business. So maximizing your business financing options is the #1 reason why you need business credit. Reason #2, having business credit can help you negotiate better credit terms. So let's look at an example. Company A has business credit and a business credit profile and score. So on a $50,000 credit line over 7 years, they can negotiate a 5% interest rate, paying $706 approximately every month. Now, Company B doesn't have business credit. So on that same loan, they've got to pay 9% in order to get access to that credit line. Over the 7 years, they're going to pay almost $100 more per month and over $8,000 over that time. As a small business owner, I guarantee you that $97 could benefit your business, either paying another bill, a cell phone, or something like that. So having business credit helps you negotiate better credit terms. Having business credit helps improve your company's cash flow, because if you can buy on credit, you can keep cash on hand for other expenses. Reason #4, business credit limits your personal liability for business debts, because when you can obtain credit in the name of the business alone, you are not held personally liable for the debts unless a creditor can pierce your corporate veil. And again, that's defined as the legal concept that protects owners and shareholders from being personally liable or sued for a company's debts and other obligations. Reason #5 why you need business credit. Business credit builds credibility for your company, because only those businesses with established business credit profiles and acceptable business credit scores are considered credible and credit worthy by suppliers, vendors, and other business creditors. Now, all that being said, when should you begin to build business credit? Well, you should begin to build business credit the day you start your business, because even if your business has enough working capital at startup, building business credit from day one ensures credit is available to your business before, not after you need it. I always say that a banker can see an entrepreneur coming a mile away when they're desperate and in need of cash or a line of credit or money. Now, we're going to touch briefly on the business credit bureaus. So what is a business credit bureau? Well, it's a storehouse of business credit account information on millions of businesses. For example, your account with a company like Office Supply Depot. Now, we need business credit bureaus to keep track of the changes that occur in U.S. businesses to ensure the information on file is accurate and up to date. Because when it comes to businesses and business credit, every hour of every day in the U.S., there are 100 new business startups. Every hour of every day, there are 385 lawsuits, liens, and judgments filed against businesses. Every hour of every day, 74 businesses change or disconnect their phone numbers. And every hour of every day, there are 11 business bankruptcies that are filed. So without business credit bureaus, the information that they resell to creditors would not be accurate if they didn't keep track of all of these changes and more that happen every day. Now, where do business credit bureaus get their information? And this is important as you work to build business credit, to know where you need to be in order for them to find you. So they get information from payment and banking information from creditors like Capital One Bank and Staples. They get information from lawsuits, liens, and judgments, internet website mining, right? Media stories and press releases, federal contracts, grants, loans, and debarments, and then federal, state, and local business registrations. So you may have noticed, if you are a recent started, or if you can remember back when you did start your business and you filed with the Secretary of State, all of a sudden you started getting mail about your new business. Well, they know that you've just started, and that's where that comes from. They get information from incorporation and bankruptcy filings, from uniform commercial codes, and let's take a moment to talk about those. That's a comprehensive set of laws governing commercial transactions in the US. Long story short, when you go to a creditor, say for that $50,000 line of credit we talked about earlier, the creditor will do what's called file a UCC1 on that transaction, so that in the event you default on a loan or a credit account, there's a record of that transaction having been made that they can use. Corporate financial reports. Business credit bureaus would love for everyone to submit their corporate financial reports. Not your QuickBooks reports, but audited financials. Yellow pages and other print and internet directories are another source of information, as well as direct calls that they make to business owners. Now, we all are inundated with a ton of unsolicited calls. Some of them may actually be credit bureaus calling to verify that your company is still around, the numbers are still good, and whether or not changes have been made within your organization. Now, who are the business credit bureaus? So, long story short, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of companies in the US, North America, and around the world that do what's called risk management assessments or credit assessments on other companies, industries, etc. The firms to the left, PayNet, LexisNexis, CreditSafe, Credit.net, Ansonia Credit Data, Equifax, which most of us have heard from personal credit, Cortera, and Business Credit Reports. Those are going to be some of the largest business credit reporting agencies that operate here in North America. So I didn't expound on those organizations because they're great to know who they are, but they're not the ones who are going to help you establish and build business credit. Now, on the other side of that line, we've got FICO, again, a company we've heard of from personal credit, but they've got the new small business scoring service. Then there's EXPERIAN, again, a company that does both business and personal credit. And then there's Dun and Bradstreet. So we're going to do a deeper dive on those three. So FICO, Small Business Scoring Service. Now, truthfully, this is a relatively new service. It wasn't around when I wrote the book, and it's only within the last year or so that you could even find a lot of information about the services on their website. So, but because they are the people who created credit scoring, they were primed to start this small business scoring service model. And they do so, and they actually do it with over 7,500 lenders around the country at this point. So your FICO SBSS is going to be based on your personal credit history, your company's business credit history, and other information such as the age of your company's annual revenue, business assets, number of employees, etc. Their score is going to range from 0 to 300, with higher scores indicating a better credit rating. Now, the reason they're important to us, especially during this time of crisis, when many of us are either interested in or have already applied for government assistance or an SBA-backed loan. Well, the U.S. Small Business Administration uses the FICO SBSS to pre-screen all SBA 7A loan applications for loans up to $1 million. And of course, the 7A program is the primary program for providing financial assistance or government-backed loans through certified lenders to small businesses, as well as disaster loans, which is what businesses are applying for during this COVID crisis. So the minimum FICO SBSS score to pass the SBA's process is currently 140. So keep that in mind. If you're applying for a small business SBA-backed loan, your score needs to be at least 140. However, most lenders are going to set their minimum score at about 160. So knowing that in advance of applying for an SBA-backed loan can actually provide you the tools and resources you need to go and work on improving your business credit scores if you don't have those minimum scores at the time you are ready to apply. Then there's Experian. Experian has business credit reports on over 28 million credit active businesses in the US. And of course, that's their website, sbcr.experian.com. So Experian requires at least one demographic element, such as a business address or telephone number, to generate a business credit file on a business. So once Experian knows that your company exists, either through your articles, an address, or phone number, your company has a file in their system. Now, when that file is generated, they assign a 9-digit Experian Business Identification Number, or Experian BIN, that provides a unique identifier for each physical location of your business, and it links locations within a corporate family. Now, when it comes to BIN numbers, each location needs to have its own unique BIN number. Experian requires at least one trade account to generate a business credit score on a business. So what's a trade account? It's a business credit account from a creditor like Dell or Uline to accompany the borrower that is listed on that company's business credit report. A trade account is also known as a trade line, right? So Experian's business credit score is called the Experian IntelliScore Plus score. That score is going to range from 0 to 100. And notice here, just like with the FICO scores, business credit scores from a range standpoint vary dramatically from personal credit scores, which go from 300 to 850. So Experian goes from 0 to 100, with higher scores indicating better payment performance. So Experian reports that the average business credit score in their database is a 62. However, they consider a good Experian business credit score should be at least 76 or higher, right? And here we've included the IntelliScore Plus scores at a glance. 76 to 100, you're going to be in the lowest risk class, and only 1.7% of firms in that class will be a bad risk. And you can see the others in low to medium is 51 to 75, which is where the average business is going to be within their database. So again, your goal as you work to establish and build business credit should be a minimum Experian score of 62, but preferably a score of 76. Because remember, you're just starting, you won't have a great track record. So the higher the score, the better chances you have to get approved for credit. Now, Experian has a variety of reports, international reports. You can go to their website for up-to-date products and pricing on all of them. I've included here the Profile Plus report, which is $49.95, and it's a detailed listing of your company's registrations, trade and payment trends, UCC filings, and everything else. So my recommendation always is to just follow the steps we're going to talk about today in the workshop, and establish and build business credit. Unless you're trying to make a capital purchase, like a vehicle or a major copier for your office, say over $5,000, you shouldn't need to spend that much money paying for these reports and updating and checking on them very often. And you can also, with Experian, just keep in mind, update certain demographic information that appears in your Experian Business Credit Report. And they started doing that about 8 years ago because of what we talked about earlier. Their databases information started to become degraded because they were not allowing business owners to update their information. Well, they do that now. And you can go to their website, Business Credit Facts, to update information they might have on your company, or even to check and see if they've got a file on your company or not. Now, Dun and Bradstreet. So they were founded in 1841. Their database contains information on over 225 million firms from over 200 countries around the world. So they've been doing this for quite some time. That's their website, dnb.com. So when you register your business in DNB's database, something that we're going to go through later on, your company is assigned a Data Universal Numbering System number, or a DUNS number. The DUNS number provides, again, a unique 9-digit identifier for each physical location of your business, and it links locations within a corporate family. And again, each location needs its own DUNS number. Including the federal tax ID number, or EIN, the DUNS number is the most important business identification number for a business that is on a mission to build business credit. So I always say, and I've removed the animation from the workshop in the interest of time, but I want everybody to say this at least one time aloud before moving forward. A DUNS number is to a business what a social security number is to an individual. We use our social security number to do what? Apply for personal credit accounts. That's what we need the DUNS number for, is to apply for business credit accounts. So the DNB Paydex Score, that is going to be their dollar-weighted numerical indicator of how your company pays its bills over the previous 24 months, whether it's early, within terms, or late. The Paydex Score is going to be based on the number of trade payments reported to Dun and Bradstreet by suppliers, vendors, banks, and other creditors. So what are trade payments? They're payments by a business, the borrower, for goods or services received from another business, the creditor, that reveal how quickly a borrower pays its bills, as well as payment trends over time. So those trade accounts we mentioned earlier, when you begin to use your trade accounts, you make trade payments on the goods and services you've received. And Dun and Bradstreet and other business credit bureaus, including Experian, use those trade payments. That's how they determine your business credit score. So with Paydex, the score ranges from 1 to 100. They're divided into 3 categories. 1 to 49 is high risk. You won't get approved for a stick of gum. Moderate risk is 50 to 79, which is probably where most businesses will fall. And low risk is 80 to 100. Now, as always, higher scores indicate better payment performance. When building business credit, your goal is to achieve a Paydex score of 80 or above, because 80 indicates that you pay your business credit obligations on average on time. So when you guys receive a copy of the book, Principles of Building Business Credit, inside the book there is what's called the Paydex Score table, which shows that an 80 means that you pay your bills on time. A 79 will mean that you pay your bills an average of two days late. A 65 will indicate, I believe, that you pay your bills on average 2 weeks late. So that table will reveal just what I mentioned earlier, the difference between business and personal credit, and that business credit is much more sensitive to when you make your payments than personal credit. One number is going to equal 2 or 3 days with personal credit. It's 30, 60, 90, 120. So the Paydex score is the most widely used business credit score by suppliers, vendors, banks, and other creditors. And it's the score you need to build business credit. So again, I would ask that everyone say this to themselves aloud. A Paydex score is to a business what a FICO score is to an individual. A Paydex score is to an individual what a FICO score is to an individual. Banks and lenders do not use Credit Karma, CreditWise, or those apps. They use FICO scores to make a credit granting decision for a personal account. 90+% of lenders on the business side are going to use a Paydex score. Now, Dun and Bradstreet also has a delinquency predictor score, which estimates the likelihood that a business will be severely late in paying at least 10% of dollars owed, seek legal relief from creditors, or cease operations in total without satisfying its debts over the next 12 months. So as we go through the COVID crisis, I guarantee you that businesses around the country, because they were forced to shut down, their delinquency predictor scores have gotten worse, right? So here's the range for delinquency predictor scores. 580 to 670 is going to be the lowest risk class. 530 to 579 is going to be the next class. And it's all going to be based on your payment trends over time. So I always like to say, when it comes to knowing what's going on in the business, you as the business owner may know what's going on. Your spouse may not know, your employees may not know, but you know, and the business credit bureaus know. Now, Dun and Bradstreet also have what's called the failure score. It used to be called the financial stress score. And it predicts the likelihood that a business will seek legal relief from creditors or cease business operations without paying all of its creditors in full within the next 12 months. Legal relief could be arbitration, bankruptcy, reorganization, things like that. So here's this failure score range, right? Score of 1,001 to 1,339 is the highest risk class, and 1% of all firms are going to fall in that group. So your goal in this case would be to be 1,450 to 1,875. Middle to low risk is where you want to be. DNB also has a supplier evaluation risk rating, which is used to assess the probability that a business will seek relief from creditors or cease operations within the next 12 months, right? So supplier evaluation risk ranges from 1 to 9, with the 9 being the highest risk. An increase in your SER rating can mean Dun & Bradstreet has determined your company may fall short of meeting its financial obligations in the next 12 months. A decrease means that your firm is less likely to run into financial difficulties in the next 12 months. So basically, if you've started to become late on payments as a result of COVID, which is perfectly understandable because you're not alone in that, your SER rating has probably increased, your risk rating has probably increased as well. Now, Dun & Bradstreet also has a rating system which is based on the firm's fiscal size and overall creditworthiness. So those, some of those other ratings are about your payments. This is about how big of a company are we dealing with. So the rating classification is financial strength. Composite credit appraisal is the other component of that. So the rating classification is going to be a combination of letters and numbers that reflect a business's size based on its net worth or its equity. It's only assigned to businesses that have supplied Dun and Bradstreet with their financial statements. And I tell you right there, you do not have to submit financial statements to Dun and Bradstreet to build business credit. It's not necessary for what we're going to teach you and what you're trying to do here today. It's typically required, and it might be on the next screen, of publicly traded companies that have shareholders and seek investment from selling stock and things like that. They're required by both the FCC and others to submit financials. Now, at the upper end of the spectrum is a 5A rating, which is firms 50 million or more. At the lower end is an HA, which is going to be companies with a net worth under $5,000. So the composite credit appraisal is a number ranging from 1 to 4, which indicates a company's overall credit worthiness, with a 1 being the most credit worthy businesses. A number of 2 is the highest number you can attain without submitting your financial statements to Dun and Bradstreet. But again, I've had dozens of business credit accounts since writing the book and since researching the book, and I've never submitted financial statements, and it has not impacted my ability to get the things that I need for the business. So again, you don't have to submit your financials. So here's what the D&B rating will look like. 3A2 would be your rating. 3A indicates that your company has revenue or net worth from 1 to 10 million. 2 is a composite credit appraisal, which is good. So that's how that would read. And I went through those because when you apply for large dollar transactions and loans, most credit evaluators aren't going to go through your whole 5 or 10 page credit report. They're going to look at these little bar charts, and they want to see these, what the lines in the green areas, and they want to see 76 or 80 or 3A2 or even a smaller number, but always in the green. So that's why I shared that, so you could see what lenders are looking at when they're evaluating your business for business credit. Now, just like Experian and other business credit bureaus, Dun and Bradstreet has a number of business credit reports and products. Their credit evaluation credit evaluator plus report is $61.99. It's a basic report that includes your D&B Paydex score. And let me be clear about something else. Just like your personal credit, knowing what's in your business credit report without knowing the score is not very valuable to you. You need to know what the score is before you make, again, a capital purchase, a major purchase for your company. Now, business information report is $139.99. It's a more comprehensive report that you can buy. Now, Dun & Bradstreet also has a suite of products and services to help people establish and build business credit, as well as monitor credit. So D&B Update is where you can go into Dun & Bradstreet, review the information that's in their credit file on your company, and you can make updates to the information that you have on file. So you go to their iUpdate website, and sometimes, and I believe that they do it on purpose, you'll have difficulty getting access to the system. So it'll sort of prompt you or force you to do a chat, online chat, or call them. And they want to get you on the phone so that they can actually, sell you one of these products and services. Then there's Credit Signal, and what that does, you register for that, and you'll get an email or actual physical mail where they'll say, hey, Start Smart is, someone's requested your business credit file, or there's a change to your business credit profile. Give us a call, or visit the website to find out what it is. So I like to say that that service is to disturb you enough to want to pay for a credit report from them so you know what's going on. That's what that's about. But then there's the credit builder program. So after I wrote the book and around that time, uh, others were started to launch websites and things like that. So Dun and Bradstreet said, well, they're using our information. Let's get in on the game. So with the Credit Builder Plus program, you can pay $149 a month, or you can save by paying $14.99 a year. Now, let me be clear about that. If you sign the contract for this, and after 2 months you realize this isn't helping me or I don't have to spend that much money, you'll still have to pay the balance of the contract because it's a 12-month commitment. But with this, they'll help you establish and build business credit. You have unlimited access to your scores and ratings, which you don't need. You can dispute inaccurate information in your file, which you can do without paying for this. You can compare your scores against others in the industry. You're not competing against others. You're just trying to build business credit for your company. But also, you can add up to 12 trade references to your D&B profile with this service. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So with Credit Builder Premium, you get all the same things you got with the Plus program, but now you can add an unlimited number of trade references to your D&B profile. So with the Plus, you can add up to 12. With the Premium, you can add an unlimited number. Now, what they don't tell you and what I got them to tell me when I was doing my research, you can add your lawyer, your accountant, your landlord for your office, and your insurance. You can add a bunch of people with whom you pay every month, but they will only count towards as a trade reference if that landlord, accountant, and insurance guy actually has a Dun and Bradstreet DUNS number, has had one for a minimum of 6 months, and then is willing to report your trade payments or the payments you make to them every month directly to Dun and Bradstreet through their accounting system. I can tell you right now that my landlord in my office building doesn't do that. I can tell you right now my lawyer would never do that. So before you pay for this service, be mindful that one of the benefits that you might think of with the program may not be a benefit at all. Then there's Credibility Concierge, and I've never had the guts to call because it must be so expensive they don't even put a price. What they do here is assign you a credit specialist to help you establish and build business credit. I've come to the conclusion personally that it's probably for high growth companies, let's say like Uber when they first started, that went out and got millions in investments, but then had to go out and lease millions in cars very quickly to build up a fleet. So I'm assuming that's what this service is for. Anybody want to call them and find out? Be my guest. But again, we don't need to pay for any of these because we're going to show you how to do it on your own without them. But before we do that, we need to make sure your company is set up for maximum business credit. So to give your business the maximum practical opportunity to build business credit in as little as 120 days, you must have a formal business structure. That's got to be a corporation, LLC, nonprofits do qualify, but it's got to be separate and distinct from its owners. It cannot be a sole proprietorship. No matter how many ways people ask, you can't do it because there's no separation from the business and the owner. So if anyone has not set up their own LLC or corporation, do an internet search for how to set up a corporation and plug in your state, Louisiana, for example, for the costs, the fees, and the process for you to do it online or through your Secretary of State. Now, in addition to filing your articles and making sure you have a formal business structure, you're going to need your federal employer ID number, tax ID number, which these days you can get within about 5 to 10 minutes online for free. So in about an hour, you can set up an LLC or corporation online, at least in the state of Louisiana, with gobiz.gov and get your federal tax ID number, all within about an hour. You're going to need your state and or local business license. You're going to need a business bank account in the name of the business. You're going to need a telephone number in the name of the business with directory assistance. And for those businesses, yeah, I didn't include it here, so let me expound on that. For those individuals who operate their business with their cell phone number, there are low-cost ways to get a number in the name of the business. You can use a free Google Voice number. There's Grasshopper or other voice over internet protocol services that range from free to about $39 per month, which could be a bit cost prohibitive, that would be in the name of the business, that will provide you with directory assistance that can then forward to your cell phone number. So that's an easy way to do that. You're going to want a website, or these days you can get away with free social media pages with LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or wherever your customers can be found on social media. Because remember, we just told you that the business credit bureaus internet website mining. So if you don't feel like spending money for a full-blown website, set up a free Facebook page and drive traffic there. You're going to want a professional business email address. So and that's pretty straightforward and simple. Jim at Sample Company, as opposed to Homer Simpson's email address, chunkylover53@AOL. That is Homer Simpson's email address. Because imagine you've just negotiated that $50,000 line of credit, and they say, okay, we want to send you the paperwork. What's your email? And you tell them chunkylover53@AOL. You've just lost some of the credibility and that you had previously gained with that creditor. You need a commercial office address, but if you don't have a commercial office address for registering with the business credit bureaus, just use your home address. What they're saying is the business credit bureaus will tell you the section highlighted in red. It's a quote from the application itself. Personal mailboxes, PO boxes, third-party mail sites, virtual offices, APO and FPO addresses will be denied by both Dun and Bradstreet and the federal government, right? So if that's the address that you use to look more professional, then just use your home address if you don't have a commercial office address. You're going to want to know your NAICS codes. That's North American Industry Classification Codes. It's a 6-digit code that you can find at census.gov. And an example would be 541611 for management consulting, right? So you're going to want to know that to input that with your application. So you're also going to want to identify your company's management team, because there's a place in the application for that. Now, here's somewhere you can include the name of your accountant, your lawyer, or other consultants that you might work with, but who may not be full-time employees of your company. You would put as a key person of your team, Mike Smith, attorney, John Doe, insurance consultant, insurance agent. So once you set up your company properly, you have those things in place, you can get a DUNS number, that Data Universal Numbering System number. There are 4 options to getting a DUNS number. You can assume which one we're going to pick. DUNS plus credit signal, it's free, but it takes 30 days for you to get that number. Then there's DUNS for federal contracting. It's free, but because President Clinton, and I just verified this recently, back in 1994, made an agreement with Dun and Bradstreet to use this for federal contracting purposes. Because of that, you get the same number for free in 1 business day. Or if you feel like spending money, you can spend $229 and get your DUNS number plus credit signal in 5 days or less, right? But remember, credit signal is free anyway. Then there's a small business starter plus credit signal, which gives you a DUNS number, full basic credit file, which is the information contained in the application itself, by the way, plus your business added to Dun and Bradstreet's directory, which isn't a big deal. Save the money. Let's get our DUNS number for federal contracting. Because again, number one, we're in the midst of a COVID crisis, and many of us have applied or want to apply for PPP or the disaster loans when they come back out for more than just rural clients. You'll need that DUNS number to do those things. Or disaster loans if, God forbid, we have another hurricane season that further exacerbates the state of the economy. So to get a DUNS number, step one, you're going to go to this website, fedgov.dnb.com/webform/. Or you can just go to DNB's website, and somewhere on the page, there'll be request a DUNS number, and somewhere on that page will be for federal contracting purposes. So then you click here to request your DUNS number via the internet and select the country that you're requesting it from, because again, they work in over 200 countries around the world. You press continue. So they'd ask for some basic information on your company. The reason they're doing that is because 1 out of every 2 companies that request a new DUNS number is already in their database because of those previous contracts or trade payments or the filings with the Secretary of State. So if your company is already in the system, then you would just update that information and find out what your DUNS number is. In this process, we're going to go and request a new DUNS number. So they're going to ask you to gather some documents, which we're going to touch on, which is kind of new. Then you're just going to submit a request. So when you press submit, it's going to take you to this page. I've recreated this application page by page. Create a new DUNS number. They're going to ask you to gather documents. So because of fraud, and people were just getting DUNS numbers for whatever reason, established credit, without having legitimate businesses. So now you're required to submit 2 documents that verify that you have a legitimate formal company or a business with a trade name. And so you're going to need something like your articles and your tax ID number letter from the federal government or utility bill. They'll give you a full list and explain which documents you need for whatever you're trying to do. These are some of the documents again. Next, they're going to ask you for your email address. And every time you see that little red box in the corner, that means that it is a required field. This is the information you're going to have to submit your case, your contact information. First name, last name, company, job title, phone number, and your country. You're not required to show a street, city, state, or zip code, but I recommend that you do it so that you can get through the process without any hiccups. The next screen is going to say, what are you doing? Creating a new DUNS or updating a DUNS? We're creating a new DUNS. So it brings you to this page. Company name. If you've got an ABC company doing business as Google, you put Google in the DBA trade style. Phone number, your business physical address, and as you can see, no personal mailboxes, PO boxes, etc. Units, business city, state, postal code, business country. Next, legal structure, corporation, LLC, etc. The name of the owner or CEO, the title, managing director, CEO, whatever. The website, if you've got one. Is this a home-based business? If it's yes or no. Number of employees. You can put 300 if you feel like. I wouldn't over-exaggerate. 1 to 5 or 5 to 10. The date your business was started. If you don't know it, just put the month and year. But if you're using your articles, that will have the date it was formally filed. If you know your standard industrial classification codes, which are going to be 4-digit numbers that are used for global businesses, you can input those there. You find your SIC codes at OSHA.gov. We already touched on your NAICS codes. If you've got that, you can put it there. The more information you put, the more credible your company looks. So if you've got them, input them there. Then they're going to ask, who's your leadership, right? Well, the first owner's name goes first. Then you can add other owners, key employees, again, your accountant, attorney, etc., as your leadership team. The more robust your leadership team looks, the more credible your company will look for companies who pull a complete report on your company in the future. So for security reasons, at this point, they're going to reiterate what documents you need to have to finish this process. Then you're going to attach those files, scan them in, attach a PDF, and upload them to Dun and Bradstreet. Our financial details attached. If you insist on putting them, go ahead. Again, it's not recommended that you do, especially since most companies, small businesses around the country, have seen a decline in revenue at least in the last 2 to 3 months because of COVID. There shouldn't be any additional details that you want to add, but if there are, you can include them there. Oops, wrong direction. So they'll get a message. Your company's now been assigned a case number, and you'll get that. And they'll probably send you an email, and they'll tell you the basic information that you input will be included in your DUNS profile within 24 hours. If you included your banking information, financial information, or added additional branches, which you shouldn't have to do for this initial application. We're just trying to get in the system and get the ball rolling, because remember, we want to do this in 120 days. Some of that stuff may take longer for them to verify. So depending on the day and time that you apply, and I say that with all seriousness because I had to do this one time and I did it on a Friday after 3 o'clock, which was the equivalent of doing it on a Monday morning. So I had to wait 4 physical days before I received my number. So depending on when you do it, you'll get an email from them and it'll say, you got a DUNS number. This is your DUNS number. This is how your name and address will appear to the SBA if you apply for a disaster loan or something like that, or to creditors when they pull your business credit report. Now, the reason we're here, building business credit in 120 days and beyond. All right, let me see how I'm doing. I've just got a few minutes, but we're gonna get it all in. With your DUNS number in your hand, you're ready to build business credit. And what you need to do is open those trade accounts with business creditors who report to Dun and Bradstreet. So that's who we're building business credit with, Dun and Bradstreet. So despite the fact that there are over 5,000 suppliers and vendors who report, most of those vendors and suppliers only offer credit to established businesses. So what you need to do is open trade accounts with business-friendly creditors, right? So who are business-friendly creditors? Those are going to be creditors that are willing to grant you credit just because you just got a DUNS number, even if you're a startup or even if you're an established business that has never tried to establish business credit before. Now, these business-friendly creditors are typically going to start you out with a $500 to $1,000 credit limit with what's called net 30 terms. And net 30 simply means that the entire balance of that invoice is payable 30 days from the date of purchase, the date the goods or services are delivered, or the date the services are rendered. Net 10, 15, and 60 are other common net trade terms. Now, some creditors will also give you a discount if you pay your credit early. And remember, we want to try and pay early or at least on time to get that 80 business credit score. So 210 net 30 would be an indication that the creditor will give you a 2% discount if you pay the invoice within 10 days of making your purchases. Now we want to apply for business credit with those business-friendly creditors. And here they are, right? I've updated this list, done some research, and again, you're going to get a list of these and others that may not be on here 38 pages of applications in all. And so step one is to open business credit accounts with one or more business-friendly creditors, because Dun and Bradstreet requires you to have at least 3 trade payment experiences to get a Paydex score. You want to make purchases using these new trade accounts at least $25 to $50 for each transaction. You want to make payments on those accounts early or on time. And you want to repeat steps 2 and 3, make purchases, make payments, for a minimum of 3 consecutive months for each account, or until you have at least 3 trade payment experiences. So you can open an account with, say, Quill. You can buy paper, pay the invoice. Buy trash bags, pay the invoice. Buy pens and pencils, pay the invoice. Or you can open an account with FedEx Office, Quill, and HD Supply. Make one purchase with each company and pay each invoice. Either way, as long as Dun and Bradstreet has 3 trade payment experiences with which to calculate a dollar-weighted average of the amount of the purchases and the times when you make those payments. So after you do that, the information within your Dun and Bradstreet file, along with your new trade accounts and your on-time trade payments reported to Dun and Bradstreet, will help you generate up to an 80 Paydex score in as little as 120 days. And I can tell you recently that I did this for a company that I have, and because the company had been around for years, I was able to open accounts, make payments, and within about 60 days, had a Paydex score again for that business. And of course, multiple factors are going to determine how quickly you get your Paydex score, such as when you make the purchases, when you make the payments, and of course, when the creditors report to Dun and Bradstreet. So that's why, and they typically report every 30 days or every 60 days. So that's why we say give it at least up to 120 days if you follow these steps in order. Now, once you get your Paydex score, you're ready to start building business credit beyond that first 120 days with more accounts that may be a little more challenging to get. Some of them will still be business credit friendly creditors, but they may be a little more challenging to get. A good strategy would be to apply for a new account every 60 to 90 days after you get into this, until you feel that you've got enough credit accounts that you can manage successfully. Now, one question I always get is, how do you get a Visa or MasterCard with a business with limited credit history? So what you might want to do is look for a business Visa or MasterCard. And they may require that you can open an account if you're willing to personally guarantee that account or provide a security deposit to ensure the account is going to be paid. Keep in mind, however, that if you provide a personal guarantee and if your personal credit's not good enough, you may still be denied if they deem your scores are too low. But if you are approved for that account, because it is in the name of the business, it will not appear on your personal credit reports. I have never had a single business credit account in the past 12 to 15 years appear on my personal credit report, whether I provided a personal guarantee or not. And the higher dollar things like vehicles, you will more than likely have to provide a personal guarantee. And if you do get that account, after about 6 months of using the account successfully, go back to the creditor and request that they remove the personal guarantee or return your security deposit. The $100,000 business credit strategy. It's the use of equipment, not its ownership, that generates a profit for a business. Equipment leasing is that strategy. It's a $900 billion a year business in the US alone. 79% of all the corporations that you visit every day lease some or all of their equipment. And even startups and established businesses can lease up to $100,000 in equipment for their business of course, restrictions will apply to that. But I double checked my research because to make sure, and that is still the case, that it is available. Equipment leasing is 100% financing. So they wrap delivery and everything into it. And you can lease used equipment. Helps reserve other lines of credit, because if you can lease the capital goods, you don't have to use your cash or working capital lines. How does it work? You lease the equipment, and at the end of that lease, you can either turn in the equipment, you can turn it in and lease new equipment, you can extend that lease on a month-to-month basis until the new equipment is ready, or you can purchase the equipment at a predetermined price. So that's the $100,000 business credit strategy. It's also tax deductions and off balance sheets. So even though you're leasing it, you can still write it off on your taxes. Talk to your accountant about that. All right. What can you lease? Pretty much everything. I'll give you a second to look at this list and keep it moving, because we've got to just have a few more slides. The bank-to-bank strategy, and I was telling Good Work Network that I used this recently to get a line of credit. So it's a great way to build business credit or personal credit if that's something you need to do. The process is simple. Visit your bank and purchase a certificate of deposit with part of your savings or any money you might have. Once you purchase that CD, inform the banker that you want to use that as collateral for a small business loan. The banker will let you know how much of that CD you can borrow against. In the example we're going to use, you take out a $5,000 certificate of deposit and borrow $2,500 against it. So if you happen to default, the money's already on account. Step 3, use the proceeds from the loan to borrow the money. Step 4, set up automatic payments for that loan to reassure the bank that the payments will be made early or on time. In step 5, after a minimum of 3 to 6 payments, go to the bank and say, hey, I want to cash in my CD. And step 6, use that cash to pay off the loan that you just took out. Step 7, repeat the process. Every time you repeat the process, you're adding a bank trade reference, a bank trade account for $2,000 to $3,000 or $5,000 to your business or even your personal credit history. NAV in the business credit app. We're almost there, guys. So what NAV is a new website and app that provides you access to your business and personal credit scores. Now with the free account, they'll only tell you what your business credit grades are, or even if you have a business credit score or profile with the Dun and Bradstreet and EXPERIAN. With the business manager account for $29.99 a month, you'll receive your business credit scores from Dun and Bradstreet and EXPERIAN and Equifax and tips to help you build business credit. With Business Boost, you'll also get access to your scores, but then NAV will report your monthly or quarterly payments to the major credit bureaus to act as a business-friendly creditor to help you build business credit. And with the Loan Builder program, you get your business credit scores plus your FICO business credit score, plus they report your scores to the business credit bureaus. So if you know strategically in 3, 6, or 9 months, you need to purchase $100,000 in equipment or lease equipment or make a major capital purchase, that might be a time where you go to one of their Business Boost or Loan Builder programs to help build business credit and get access to all of your scores in advance of the lenders actually seeing your scores. Some tips, we're in the home stretch. Choose where you apply for business credit carefully. Only apply for business credit with creditors who are going to report to Dun and Bradstreet or EXPERIAN. If you're not sure whether or not they do, pick up the phone and call them and ask, because if they're not going to report your payment and transaction history, they're not going to help you through this process. Be credit smart. Don't try and use business credit to replace low personal credit. If low personal credit scores are an issue, work to repair your personal credit while you work to build business credit. Pre-qualify before you apply. by calling them and asking what the requirements are. For example, if you want an Office Depot, Office Max card these days without providing a personal guarantee, you have to be a corporation that's been around for at least 3 years with $5 million in annual revenue, a school or government agency or nonprofit organization. If you're not one of those entities, you're not going to qualify for an account without having to provide a personal guarantee. Where you can, tip number 4, enroll your accounts in autopay. I've got a Dell business account where I'll make a purchase every couple of months or once or twice a year and set it up as autopay to ensure that my payments are made on time so that I don't have to think about it. Get a secured business credit card. If you don't qualify for a unsecured card, these 3 companies, BBVAUSA.com, WellsFargo.com, and FBNO all have a secured Visa card for businesses. And you can also check with your local bank to see if they offer the business Visa product, the business edition secured Visa card, because it's more than just FBNO that offers that card, but you'll have to check with your local bank to see if they do. And number 6, use it or lose it. Your Paydex score is based on your company's previous 24 months of trade payment activity. So if you don't use your business credit accounts, you run the risk of losing your business credit score, which is again why I set the Dell up automatically so that I know that according to Dun and Bradstreet, I'm always using at least one of my business credit accounts. So in a nutshell, that is how you establish business credit, by going to Dun and Bradstreet, getting a DUNS number, and build business credit by starting out with business-friendly creditors and growing out from there, just like that first credit card you got when you were 18 or 21 in the mall or on a college campus, where they gave you a free t-shirt for Citibank Visa card for $500. That's where you start. So if I still have people with me, if there are any questions, I've got my email address below. You can email me directly. I'll do my best to get back to you with an answer, because I do know everything. And what I don't know, Google does. So I'll find that answer for you. So how are we going to do this?
Okay, I have a couple of questions. I do want to thank everyone for staying on. I know we're past time, so we're going to get through the few questions that we have. And after this is over, we will forward you the copy of Norman's book and the packet of business credit applications. Our first question is asked, should we pay for the D&B credit report even if we haven't intentionally built credit yet? I have Chase business credit cards. Do they get reported to D&B? What companies would you suggest to get trade lines from?
So what I would probably do, if you've got cards in the name of the business already, I would call Dun and Bradstreet and just stay on the phone with them and try and get someone to reveal whether or not you have a Paydex score or not, or if you have any accounts that are currently reported. Because that's what I did. I kept calling until I got somebody who eventually said, hey, listen, your Paydex score is 80. You've got about 5 accounts reporting. If you want to report, buy it. So that would be my advice. Just give them a call and ask, or go through the process and see if you're in the system and update the information in the system first and then call them and ask.
Does the 501c3 need to also build credit?
Absolutely. If you remember what I said about Office Depot, Office Max, since my company doesn't make $5 million a year, I can't get that card without providing a personal guarantee. If I had a nonprofit, the nonprofit can get a business credit account without providing a personal guarantee, because a nonprofit is operated by a board of directors and no one individual can, in theory, personally guarantee the account. So yes, a nonprofit. In fact, when I started this process, I did it for a nonprofit that we had 12, 15 years ago. So yes.
Is there a minimum term for the bank business loans? And is the score from the NAV app the same score the lender will see?
So with the business loans, I actually, and I shared this with Stacy earlier, I was updating this material and I kept reading bank to bank method, bank to bank method. So I went to my credit union yesterday and they have bill credit on their website. So I called them, well, I applied online and this morning was approved. And I will tell you that they said, they said you can set the payments, set up a loan for 12, 24, or 36 months. I asked her directly if there were any prepayment penalties because my goal is to get the payments, reported properly after about 3 or 4 payments and to pay off the loan and repeat the process. So just talk to your bank or banker. They'll typically do 12, 24, or 36 months. And the question that you want to ask is whether or not there are any prepayment penalties for paying it off early. And
Who
of
do you
course, I set it
recommend?
up for automatic drafts and everything else. So
Who do
yeah,
you recommend a new business should start establishing credit with?
the applications you're going to get after the website, after the workshop, and the ones that I had literally on the page, and I know I might have skipped through it rather quickly, but FedEx Office has a new FedEx Print account, which harkens back to the days of Kinko's, because Kinko's is actually the first account that I got. I got my DUNS number, got up from my desk, went to Kinko's, filled out the application with the DUNS number, and opened that account. So FedEx Office has just reinitiated that account. Quill, which I just learned in updating this information, is now part of Staples, but they've got a business-friendly account, and information is included there. So the ones that you will get are going to be the ones that I recommend you try and start with. If there are some specific to your industry or business, then contact those companies that you may be aware of and just ask them. Remember the pre-qualify before you apply question. Call them in and say, hey, I would like a business credit account. Do you guys offer net 30 terms or business credit accounts? And talk to someone about it and see if they do. If you need an industry or trade specific supplier, say, if you're an ice cream company, something like that.
Well, thank you for spending time with us today, Norman. It was a lot of information. I know that we went over time, but everyone will get a copy of your book, and they have your which will have your email and other contact information. Thank you again. I hope this was productive for all who were involved, and we do apologize for going over time. So have a great day, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Okay.